Where'd the mystery crate go? There's
Magic crate?
There's no one to. There's
That's
no one.
a fine.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
right.
Every
the magic
Friday.
Crate, the magic crate. That is a fine.
Why would that be one of the
mystery
topics,
crate?
though? I mean, it's an odd topic. Israel, Palestine. I mean,
I'm just saying.
the fight that's been going on for hundreds of years. I mean,
I'm saying complicated subject matter as opposed to be what kind of fish would you like to be?
I got it. Okay.
We'll write some questions. It doesn't necessarily work without ESPN looming over us.
I think I'd like to be a swordfish.
Although there are still topics, not to interrupt Dan again for the second day
A
in a row.
built-in weapon. I mean,
There are topics, though, that I would still like to have that magic. Even though we don't need it for ESPN anymore, just there are times I'm like, you know what, let's hit that thing.
Yeah,
for old time's sake.
Anytime anyone starts talking about libations that aren't approved partnerships.
There you go. When we bump up against whatever it is the machine presently is, like Billy yesterday complaining about management, when I'm looking at him and I'm like, how is management making decisions that aren't me? Like, am I management?
yes.
I'm now management. So I'm the
You
enemy.
own the company. I mean, that makes you management.
It does.
You're bigger than management. You're the owner, as far as I'm concerned.
But I wanted to do the billboard thing, and nobody else here wanted to do it.
Well,
so
that's why you hire people that have
Yes
good
men.
advice. Like,
Yes
well,
men.
it's not always yes men. Mostly yes men, yes people, but occasionally they got to tell you this is a really bad idea and not really one of the founding principles of this company. We're going to be bullies now? Come on, that's not us.
bullies.
Yeah, it was very bullying. You just called the man stupid looking.
I did not.
Wow. Debatable.
Yeah, but you were the one trying to pour gas on that fire.
But it's good, clean fun, though. Saying someone has a stupid face is not like a genuine insult. It's like a thing. You're doing a thing.
No.
They need to stop taking themselves so seriously.
We talked
These
to
ad companies, you know how much buzz your billboard would get in Buffalo if you would have done that? Yeah, it might have been bad press, but like I say, all press is good press.
I would have welcomed the bad press. It would have been deeply uncomfortable. We would have looked like assholes, except to our audience, which would be in on the joke and realize we don't actually think Josh Allen has a stupid face. To me, those are the best jokes, the inside jokes for just our audience.
I heard your logic yesterday. If I drive into work one day and I see a billboard that says my wife has a stupid looking face, but some podcast out of Milwaukee finds it hilarious, and I don't get the joke, that still doesn't take away that I'm insulted.
If it's a sport, obviously your wife, you're making it insanely personal. If I see a billboard that says
All right,
Jimmy Butler has a stupid face, I'm giggling at. I'm not like, I need blood.
What is wrong with having a stupid face? Like, some people are just born. It doesn't mean you're stupid. It just means you have like a lost look. Like Zac Taylor, to me, the head coach of the Bengals, stupid face.
Stop doing this.
What do you mean?
Stop. We don't need a new fight.
Well, he's a great coach. He's done a great job. I'm just saying he has a lost look sometimes.
when you have
Besides, Nick Sirianni looks far more stupid.
I think I know what we're doing here.
True.
It's when you have a lot of extra skin on your face. I think Zac Taylor and Josh Allen have a little, just like it's like, I don't know, like maybe loose skin, not extra skin.
Trevor Lawrence is tight. It's tight.
Yes, exactly.
It's tight. It's not. There's no looseness
No,
on
it's
it.
just too much face.
Exactly.
But it's also I don't want to make fun of anybody else's appearance here.
Who has the ideal face?
We're here. Oh, this is a great question.
Oh, man, so many people.
Wow.
Yeah,
Ryan
me.
Reynolds.
Yeah, Max Strus,
Yurtsvin.
ideal face.
Yurtsvin.
Yeah,
Really?
that's good.
Yurtsvin?
Yeah.
Huh. Interesting.
I like Jimmy Butler's bone structure.
I wouldn't know Yurtsvin's face
Not
if
too
it
much
was sitting
face.
next to me.
Oh, I
mean,
would.
You talk about bone structure. You guys have all noticed, right, that the tight ends in the league now, even if it's a Schultz, even if it's somebody who's got like protective gear on his neck to protect his head, that they all have the skeletal structures, the bone structures of monsters. Of monsters.
Started with Gronk, right?
I mean, and he's still the best of it. But the idea that nobody could cover Kelsey, and I'm guessing you've stood next to him at Tahoe, you could explain to the audience when Tony goes to Jacksonville and his chief analysis is, holy shit, these people are big. And they're fighting over money, and the science and technology is such that they can now be 6'7" tweeners. Antonio Gates now is not a freak monster anymore, correct?
No. But he's one of the originals, Antonio Gates. He is. I mean,
we were talking about this yesterday. Whittingham and I were laughing about in the San Francisco-Dallas game, and I guess we will analyze this and we will continue from the comfort of our couches with Cheetos on our fingertips. We will say, while watching Wagner, I don't know his first name, the linebacker for the San Francisco 49ers, he lines up.
You don't know his last name either.
Yeah, it's Warner. Fred Warner is his name.
Forgive me. So Fred Warner.
Just the best linebacker in the league.
Yeah, it's my fault. I feel terrible about that.
You confuse him with Bobby Wagner, who used to be the best linebacker.
That play where he covered CeeDee Lamb, holy
amazing.
shit.
Yeah, amazing.
Okay, but the thing that I wanted to talk to you about, because he's on the line of scrimmage, and then CeeDee Lamb is going down the seam, and Warner is running right with him, step for step, and we're all amazed by the athleticism of a linebacker being able to do that, and then Dak Prescott throws it, and CeeDee Lamb could have caught it. Would have been an amazing catch, but it would have been a perfect throw and an amazing catch against amazing coverage. As we sit on our couches and are like, after that, Orlovsky explains it to us in slow motion. Oh, T.Y. Hilton was wide open there. Dak, why aren't you better? And it's like, oh, okay, that's all moving very fast. And every once in a while, guys are going to miss things that look very easy to us, but everything that's happening out there is a bunch of extraterrestrials at the top end of science who are able to be whatever it is that Micah Parsons is, that can't be blocked unless it's by Trent Williams, who is stronger than any man in the universe.
It's not moving fast for Joe Burrow. I can tell you that.
Slow motion even.
Little frog in the throat. Sorry about that.
That play, though, it's just insane. And maybe T.Y. Hilton was wide open, but just the middle of that field. Fred Warner is in the A-gap showing blitz and is running at full speed and is able to cover CeeDee Lamb 35 yards downfield. And yet Dak Prescott still makes a reasonable throw low to the ground in a window that's about 18 inches. And still manages to get a decent throw into CeeDee Lamb, who unfortunately drops it. That was just the high, and it's why I thought that game was well played. When Mike Schur came on yesterday, that game sucked just because it was 19-12 late in the fourth quarter. That game didn't suck. That game was incredibly high level, and Dak clearly was just looking at CeeDee Lamb all game.
You honestly confuse me. I don't know what you want out of football. You complain that the Dolphins don't score, and then tell us a 19-12 game is a great game.
I mean, you trust your eyes.
What do you want?
What I want is high level, and they provided.
I thought you wanted high scoring.
They provided high level yesterday. The Dolphins' version of 19-12 is never high level, ever.
And you had Stephon Diggs complaining with Josh Allen, and then you have Tony Romo saying, "Look, I know in the replay it looks like Stephon's open here, but he's moving it along his progressions. It's so fast." You can't get mad at these guys because they're just. Imagine trying to be a quarterback in the NFL. Holy shit. It's hard enough on Madden.
I asked Billy 3 days ago, or maybe it was 4 days ago, when did T.Y. Hilton end up on the Cowboys? I had missed that, just like Dak Prescott had missed it, because what an idiot. Dak Prescott, with that defense, all 11 dudes, must look like they have cleavers, are running at him at an incredibly fast rate of speed. He says, you know who I'm going to trust here? CeeDee Lamb, not the guy I met 3 weeks ago that was discarded by the Colts, because he done T.Y. Hilton. I don't know what he is anymore, but
he's a free agent.
He's a cagey vet.
Yeah, he's a cagey vet, the ghost. T.Y. goodbye, if you will. Yeah, he was there because Odell Beckham, didn't know about his injury situation. Then there was an airplane thing, which, by the way, I felt like that video somewhat exonerated him. I know that people said that video was like a bad look. I feel like he seemed like he was fine when the video started. Now they were saying he didn't wear pants. Do you guys know what we're talking about?
Yes,
Does anyone know what we're talking about here?
Well, he fat shamed someone, right? Yelled cheese tray at him.
Well, okay, so he before the video started, they said that he was like drugged or something, like unresponsive, and then the cops got there, and he seemed very coherent and like in it, and they were like, well, he's not wearing pants. They're like, well, he's wearing pants. Like, we see his pants on. They're like, tell him to put on pants. He's like, well, they're on him. So I don't know what happened before the video, but during the video, he seemed to not be in this state.
I think he went out the night before and was just, he fell asleep and was in one of those states of sleep that wasn't able to.
The bad look in the video, though, is them saying, if you don't put your seatbelt on, everyone has to leave the plane. And he's like, all right.
And then one.
That's the bad look. But yeah, I'm with you. He didn't look inebriated or that inebriated as it was.
The original reports made it sound like Miami got to him, that he was drugged in his seat. And when we saw the video, you could say, because Odell Beckham's been polarizing for a long time. So it can then become just simply, oh, we didn't have the video before. We thought it was drunk or drugged partying. Now we have the video. Oh, no, it's just he's an asshole.
Classic OBJ.
Not drugged, though.
Not
Right.
drugged,
Yeah.
but he wouldn't
Totally
get out.
sober asshole.
He
Just a
would.
run-of-the-mill
Allegedly.
asshole.
He's like, I'll never get off for you to that guy.
Well,
to the cheese plate.
Not to you, cheese plate.
Yeah.
Listen,
I'm not giving you this.
I'll never do
cheese
it
plate.
for you. You want me to leave, so I'm staying.
in OBJ's defense, which is a strange place to go.
Yeah.
I mean, he was like in the first class where like you were in an apartment. Most of those people are probably assholes. You know what I mean? Like they were probably like the worst of the people on those planes. So like, I'm sorry that someone's talking to you in a manner in which you're not used to being spoken to. Welcome to society,
All right.
assholes.
But when the police, once
Wow.
again,
So put it on the poll, please, at LeBatard Show. Are all the people in first class assholes? Like there's some
no,
real-
super first class where you're like apartment with bunk beds.
put it
it's like
on a
whole
billboard.
thing.
This was
Put it on
a
a billboard.
Apartments with bunk beds.
This
What?
was a
Yeah.
defense of OBJ?
I'm going to put it up in New York. All the people on a billboard, all the people who are in first class are assholes, and see what that invites Billy
Oh,
Gill.
good.
Once
I
Good
need
again,
to
joke.
get free upgrades.
in OBJ's defense, the police officers in that video are just like, he seems fine. Everything's, and they were, I mean, something happened before that. They were just like, it seemed in that video like he should be fine. Like he's fine. His pants are on. He was just sleeping. Like, let's just let him go.
Pants are
Great
on.
qualifier.
The cops really were kind of like nothing. Everything
Yes.
seems fine here, and
like-
they
and
were
it-
like, "No, he needs to go." It seemed a little
They're like,
aggressive.
we can't give him medical attention. There's nothing wrong with him. We see him. He seems okay.
Also, if this thing crashes, what is that seatbelt going to do, really?
It's a good point, Mike.
Billy, I'm not sure a lot of people are exonerating OBJ with that video.
No one is. I feel like I'm on an island here. but
I'd also
that's
like
fine.
to correct Stugotz and say that's not a good point.
No, it is.
Like it's basically saying,
Listen,
like
it-
having existentially saying what's a seatbelt gonna do is not good advice to give on a national podcast.
Listen to me.
No, on an airplane.
Tony
That's true.
Baselli told us he never uses a seatbelt on an airplane.
Yeah.
Will not buckle it. What is a seatbelt going to do when your plane is crashing into the Atlantic Ocean?
Keep you from
Huh?
slant. Oh no, I guess
like-
the ocean. You're right.
I mean, it's turbulent. Like, what about turbulence? Why does it have
What
to be
about
a
it?
crash? If it's
It
turbulence,
can send you flying out
Yeah.
of your seat.
Yeah, you have to think of the other passengers.
All
You know,
right.
you don't want Tony Baselli like a missile flying into you before you
great
crash into the
visual,
ocean.
though.
I'd love to
Right,
see
yeah.
the turbulence that could move Tony Baselli.
Put it on the poll at LeBatard Show. Is there a turbulence that could move Tony Baselli? Hall of Famer Jason Taylor used to say, yeah, every game I'd go and I'd just get stuck on him. And that's it. The game was over. I couldn't do anything. He was too strong and too big. It's Jason Taylor. But getting back to the thing that we were talking about of how incredible these athletes are and how comfortable we are saying Dak, T.Y., because he was wide open. But these people have gotten so good that they've spoiled us. And I just imagine that there are 40 of those a game we're missing while watching. That everything's moving so fast because it's not Baselli's size. Now Baselli runs like Wagner.
Like Christian Wilkins. I mean,
There are all these giant people. Again, I gave you tight ends who have the skeletal structure of monsters.
yep.
Everyone's moving at an incredible rate of speed. Dak Prescott, you bum. You're not as good as Mahomes and Rodgers in that situation. Okay.
But it's his job to see that. Like, oh, you wouldn't see it. It's like, yeah, no shit. I'm not the Cowboys quarterback who's
no,
getting paid $40 million.
understood.
Like, he's supposed to see it. I know it's unreasonable, but it's one of his job descriptions.
Yes, he's trained. My only point to you is, again, I will give you the perspective of Wagner's on the other side, and it's
Warner.
every
Jesus.
as I'm watching Philadelphia and San Francisco, I'm watching two teams. Do you know how hard this is to do in the modern age? They're stronger than everybody. They're more physical than everybody. Forgive Dak Prescott for saying, I trust CD Lamb. I'm panicked back here. Everything's moving very fast.
How about you trust the open wide receiver, though? I mean, it's T.Y. Hilton. It's not a rookie.
Agreed, Stugotz. Everyone's saying that. He missed a wide open receiver. I'd just like to see what you and I would do in that spot.
You and I aren't quarterbacks in the NFL, training for it our entire lives.
How about
I
don't be
mean,
panicked in that spot, Dak?
Yep.
Be like Joe Cool.
There have been 12 quarterbacks in a row who have looked really bad against that defense. 12 in a row.
my favorite was during that game. Brock Purdy rolled out to his left and was trying to find a receiver downfield. And after the play, they showed George Kittle on the other side of the field doing jumping jacks. So, I'm open. And Greg Olson's like, pal, Brock Purdy's 35 yards away from you on the other side of the field. Stop doing you're not open in the eyes of the quarterback. He's being chased by Micah Parsons. Stop doing jumping jacks.
Cody, your thoughts as a lifelong observer of the NFL, watching these mutants collide and arriving on a Tuesday.
My favorite thing about sports fans in general is the easy criticism of athletes. Like, that he stinks. We say that about the last guy on the bench in the NBA is a hell of an athlete, but we say he stinks.
No, he's better than anyone you've ever seen play basketball.
Yeah, and that's the same in football,
in your real life. I'm talking about if you went to a gym, you would never see someone that as good as Brian Scalabrine at basketball.
Right. I will tell you, though, Dan, that Jarrett Stidham lit that defense up. I mean, 360 yards, 3 touchdowns, had 2 interceptions. Dak needs to be better.
You were searching that game log.
Yeah, he went through the whole game log. It took him all that time.
Where's that 37-34 loss? I mean,
he was looking for all the quarterbacks. And show me all the others. How did they do against? Because that's where Tua started his slide, was at San Francisco, because the defense is really good.
But Chris Sims made it seem like everyone was wide open in that game, and Tua was just bad. Like, they figured something out against the 49ers, but Tua was just inaccurate. It was a weird take.
I love the fact that the Cowboys' own Twitter site was critical of Dak after that game. Did you read what they wrote?
I did. What was that? Let me see. I have it here in my notes where they said, I'm paraphrasing here, some form of after costing us 2 costly turnovers. It was very aggressive language that seemed to blame Dak Prescott for that loss.
They their own Twitter site basically said that was a winnable game that we gave away by self-destructing again.
Well, I think Dak said it's all on me, and they took that article. I don't think they wrote it. They just posted it with their own headline.
No, but it's not just that, Stugotz, because you have, Dak Prescott says this is 100% on me. But I have not seen a company-sanctioned NFL team just send out what it is that the Dallas Cowboys did, where it sounded like an angry fan was mad at Dak Prescott and framed it with blaming Dak Prescott in the headline.
Well, Cowboys fans are fed up with it, and they should be, right? The Jets have made 3 AFC championships more recently than the Cowboys had made 1 NFC championship. So have the Jaguars, by the way, and they're viewed as joke franchises. The Cowboys are supposed to be serious. The last time they were in a conference championship was 1995.
I found it. Here it is. Dallas Cowboys. Dak Prescott. That's $5, by the way, Cody. Dak Prescott.
How about when you misstate Wagner's name? How much does that cost?
Yeah, 20.
Oh, that is actually, yes.
Warner.
I did get Warner wrong 3 times, didn't I?
Mm-hmm.
So that's $15, and he's not Black Prescott, and so that's another $5.
Yeah, well, 5.
That's another $5.
I think Warner one time is 5. Tone is another 5. Warner the second
What's
time
wrong
is
with my
10.
tone? What's wrong with my tone?
Black Prescott is like 55.
No,
I mean,
technically it was right, though.
Dak Prescott gave away the ball twice in the narrow loss to the 49ers in a matchup the Cowboys had a chance to win if they didn't again generate self-inflicted wounds.
I love it.
But after Dak says this is all on me, is that really that unfair? I'm pretty sure
it's not unfair, but when your own Twitter site says it, it comes off as very harsh. You're supposed to put the positive spin on that.
I was reading an article, and they said the previous and the tweets after that had like hundreds of thousands of views, and that had like 1.4 million views. So
it's the Dallas Cowboys official account blaming the quarterback, as all of Dallas was. Well,
he's blaming himself, so
he has to.
Understood, Stugotz.
I like that the team does that. It's refreshing.
Greg Cote's the one who brought it up.
I know.
Right.
Greg Cote's saying, did you see what it is the Dallas Cowboys did from their official site? Because it's unusual for the official site not to soak it in all sorts of propaganda. They don't usually do that to their top employees.
And there was a lot of blowback from Cowboys fans who didn't like it.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm surprised.
Oh, yeah?
Stugotz, I understand that you're always going to take the position, yes, be as mean as possible to the athletes, but usually
it's not being as mean as possible.
But
it's honesty from a team Twitter account.
It's not usually on the corporate logo, though.
You're right. It's not. That's what makes it. That's what makes it unique and interesting to me. I mean, you never see that. And here are the Cowboys with old Jerry Jones, who's getting, millions of clicks, doesn't care if Dak's feelings are hurt, doesn't care if Mike McCarthy's feelings are hurt, doesn't care about anyone's feelings, because he's 90 years old and trying to win a Super Bowl, and that's all he cares about. That's it.
That is so accurate, what he just said. It's one of the most accurate things he's ever said, that Jerry Jones doesn't care how he gets the
He's
clicks.
80, though, not 90.
Okay, fair enough. He's not quite 90, but it still represents, even with 7/8 truth in it, the most accurate thing Stugotz has ever said.
Do you think Jerry Jones even knows what a click is? Like, do you think a day goes by where he's like, I need a click? I don't think he gives a shit about clicks. He needs rings.
You don't think he cares about his team being popular, even as his team is not as excellent as all the other teams?
I
all
think
he's got.
he walks around, he's like, we still America's team? And then someone says, yep, Jerry. And he's like, perfect. And then he keeps walking, takes a sip of something, keeps it going.
And they still are, though, somehow, even though they never win.
And I always will be. They always will be.
Always?
Yeah. So
Always.
there's certain franchises that are inbred in America. The Yankees are always going to be the biggest thing in baseball. Dallas is always going to be America's team. When was the last time they won a playoff game? They've won like 3 playoff games since the mid-90s.
2 weeks ago.
But they're still America's team. They've won how many playoff games have they won since their Super Bowl winning years?
Not many.
Not many.
It's a
Less than
handful. A handful of, in the last 30 years, it's 30 years. In the last 30 years, they have been a very pedestrian football team. But they are the most famous football team. And so I would ask you this, because, Billy, I think you're wrong about this. If I gave Jerry Jones, if I could go back and do it all over again and say, Jerry, you're going to win 1 championship here, but you're going to be a fluke. You're going to be the Carolina Panthers the rest of the time. The rest of the time, you're going to be an irrelevant franchise. They're never going to be talking about you. They don't care about your press conferences after games. The reporters don't care because you're in a small regional market and you're Jacksonville for the last 20 years.
He wouldn't take it. He wouldn't take it.
I don't know. 1 ring.
He preferred being America's team with no rings. He would. But he's won rings, Dan. That's the thing.
Jerry, you don't get the biggest stadium in the United States. You don't get to be the most powerful owner. All you get to do is win 1 ring. You think he takes it?
I think he'd rather be America's team.
I think he'd rather be NFL's most powerful owner.
Yeah.
But how far do I have to push it out? 2, 3 championships before? If I had to make him choose either or. If you guys think it's about winning, because I don't. I think it's about being America's team.
No, I think he doesn't know how Twitter works, and he doesn't know what a click represents.
But he has people telling him it's not even about the clicks. It's about us right now on
It's a measure of relevance.
We have upcoming great football, and what are we talking about right now?
It's a nickname. It's like,
But I'm just saying, look what we're
it's
talking
like
about.
no
It's
one
not
else can become the steel curtain.
It's more than a nickname. It's a brand.
It's not about how many views this post got. It's about the fact that we're talking about it to lead the show when we have awesome football coming up.
What do
this
you
weekend.
think is the ratings on 49ers in terms of people loving nostalgia?
Well, Monster rating. Salas always rates really well, and there's this whole media machine that helps feed it. But America's team is branding,
But the Braves
we didn't vote at the polls to nominate them.
But the Braves lost that. The Braves used to be America's team when they were the only one on cable. When they were they gave it away. They squandered it, even though they've won more than the Cowboys have.
That game drew 34 million plus on Fox.
And it's the Cowboys. The Cowboys and nostalgia. And I don't think that Jerry Jones cares as long as he's the leader of the circus tent. Like, of course, he'd like to win. He'd like to win. I just don't think it's the most important thing.
Well, he wants to be the owner of the most famous team in football, and arguably he is. And that's the phenomenon in sports that is interesting to me is that the LA Clippers could be great for 10 years in a row. They're never going to be the Lakers in that city. Right? They're never going to be the Lakers.
10 straight titles.
Yeah, well, 10 straight titles. Maybe they're in the conversation, but the point is...
it wouldn't take 10. I would say if they had done what Golden State had done over the recent years, they would have taken that town from the Lakers, even with LeBron in it.
But I would argue that Golden State is not as big a national brand as the Lakers, and probably never will be. I may be wrong, but that's my view. I don't think the Braves were ever the Yankees, just because they were on TBS. The Yankees are the Yankees, and the Cowboys, their brand has withstood 30 years of irrelevance. That's a pretty powerful thing.
Because he's kept them relevant. It's his greatest talent. It's how he's risen to most powerful owner in the sport. Mike, locally here, because we've wandered away from the local stuff.
That was sports, man.
That
Brands,
was sports.
America's team,
Whoa.
football.
Monster skeletal structures.
Right,
Yeah.
cheese plates.
Fred Wagner.
Mm-hmm.
How many times did I get that wrong?
Black Prescott.
Three times.
Yeah.
Three times, and Black Prescott and Mystery Crate.
Yeah. He called
Rough
that
hour,
Magic
$100.
Content,
Yeah.
mystery crate.
$25.
There's a lot of crates though.
You misspoke on Mystery Crate? What did you call it?
You owe $5 as well that you haven't paid while I was paying too many fines.
You know,
you owe $5 for your
I don't
stuff.
think there's any money in my
Lashing out.
brand new wallet. I don't. I think I'm out of money.
Any photos in there?
Yeah, we got a few photos. Let me check.
Oh,
Yep,
wow.
totally out of money.
Oh, that's too bad.
I can confirm.
Yeah. Thanks, Billy.
That's $6 for not having any money,
$6.
and it's $7 for lying
Right,
about
all I
not
have
having.
is a 20. Seriously.
That's right.
I'm
Put
not
it in
gonna
there.
break
no,
that.
no,
Put it in there.
no.
We'll give you change.
Here's what
Moths
happened.
just flew out of that wallet.
That last week it creaked as well, squeaked like an iron gate in a cemetery. I left a 10 last week.
Yeah,
Okay, with no payback.
that's right.
How much did you owe, though?
I owed 5.
Oh, so you're owed 5.
Yes.
Oh, take
All right,
Dan's
so you
5.
can take
Yeah.
Just
the
take
5,
the
but
money that's on the
give me the
console.
20.
No, because I owe 5, so here's my 5. That's the way that works.
Yeah, that is the way that
Even
works.
the 10 last
actually.
week.
Yep, good
You-
job.
You
owed
stole my
5.
inhaler.
Yeah.
Yep. Well
We're good.
done.
Yeah. Thank you.
All square.
Someone stole your inhaler, you said?
Yeah, Dan stole my inhaler.
Why did you
and
do that?
taunted me by texting me a photo of it and had it upside down, which is the national distress symbol when you have an inhaler upside down.
That's close to manslaughter had he have died.
That's right. And now it's on just about on 0, meaning Dan was probably using my inhaler while I was gone.
Why would you do that?
I'm
I
going to
was,
test it
I
for
was just
DNA.
staring at the stolen picture of Mike's daughter as I did it. I've just developed this creepy vice
right.
of just
Investigation's still pending.
stealing intimate objects from people around
Now we
here.
have a serial thief in our midst.
I'm going to have this
I will
DNA
tell you the
tested.
story of what happened.
Stop staring at me.
Maggot.
Greg Cote, who is deeply unhealthy, left behind his inhaler, and so I simply took a picture of it to show him.
To taunt me.
You might need this as it requires, you require some help with your breathing. So I was just photographing something he left behind that is vital to his breathing.
You took it as a taunting?
Yeah, it's like if the kidnapper, sends you a note, with cut out letters from a newspaper. That was the equivalent of what Dan did.
Right. Drive it home.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
He knows you need it.
Right.
Right.
I have a dozen inhalers at home, so it was cute that he sent me a photograph of one. But nevertheless, I took it as taunting, teasing.
Don't swig your coffee after that
Why?
because you didn't do anything.
I didn't. A sip of my coffee, which is never a swig,
Right.
is not a reward. Dan always says, and then takes a vigorous sip. I don't take a vigorous sip. I take a languid, casual sip.
Ease into it.
Yeah, and it's not a reward. It's just it's something. I enjoy coffee, particularly in the morning, into the early afternoon.
Take a sip.
Yeah, thank you.
You got it. Oh.
Oh, that's gorgeous. Beautiful.
Do you realize that for 30 minutes, now we might not have been doing good show, but we were doing show for about 30 minutes, and then you just decided to tell the story as if we were in the eating area about
Commissary.
So many refer to it as a kitchen.
Right.
Eating area.
Commissary.
Who calls it an eating area?
Nobody.
Nobody.
Right.
Eating area. What's the bedroom? The sleeping area? Let's hang on. I got to go to the urinating area. I'll be right back. Eating area. What were you saying?
that you derailed the show.
You're welcome.
That you derailed the show because while we were talking and ostensibly doing show, not unlike an Anchorman character played by Steve Carell, you noticed your inhaler next to you and decided to start talking about it just because it was the most recent thing you'd seen.
It came up.
No,
Right.
you brought it up.
I don't recall
I
how
mean,
it
you
came
stole
up.
it from him.
Right.
I mean, that's
It's
right.
red.
We
You
were
know, it's
talking
noticeable.
about something else. You noticed your inhaler and you decided to just talk about the first thing that had come to your mind that had nothing to do with what we were doing as a show.
Right.
You were just distracted and thought, I'm going to wow them and entertain them now by just noticing something on the console and talking about it.
It's all about spontaneity, Dan. That's the key to life. If you think it, say it. If you see it, react to it. That's my life lesson for the day. Kids out there listening, take it to heart. If you see it, say it. Whatever that second half of that was.
What happens to react to it? It's a key to life.
Right.
I mean,
Notice it,
Wait,
react
what
to
are
it.
you
Whatever.
trying to teach the kids?
If you see it, say it.
Please teach the kids. We were about to
Pencil.
be moved. What were you trying to teach the kids?
Just to, react to everyday life. You see this, and there's a lot to say about that.
He's holding a highlighter right now.
Yeah,
Right.
the yellow highlighter. I mean, there's a lot to say about that. Is this the same thing that the monkey's mother invented? Or am I thinking
I
of,
think so.
You're talking about the band, the Monkees?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the drummer, Mickey Dolenz' mother or father invented either
the highlighter?
the highlighter or
Right.
whiteout.
Oh, so
One
if you
or the
see
other.
it, say it.
Exactly. And I always mix up the yellow highlighter with whiteout. I don't know
Yeah.
why. But to me, they're in the same genre. Anyway, I don't mean to distract the show from whatever it was doing. So go about your business.
Well, you said there was a lot to say about the yellow highlighter, so I'm waiting for the lot.
I mean, he
there
gave
is.
me an
Oh,
incredible background on it.
Right.
I
You
know
want
it.
me to? Well,
The monkeys.
I'm surprised the highlighter has evolved and stayed relevant because it doesn't seem like you really need a highlighter.
It was whiteout.
Was it whiteout?
Yeah, liquid paper.
Yeah, spelled Wite, which was weird.
Close.
That's another thing I hate is intentional corporate misspelling of names.
Except for Miller Lite.
Well, it took me a while to.
No, we love it.
we do love.
we love it.
LITE.
We love-
yeah, that
we love it.
Yeah, that
It's
we
delicious.
love.
The perfect beer for people
Yeah,
who love beer.
yeah, but you gotta get
Yes.
used to it. You gotta get used to it.
That would have been a good place for the magic crate of content right there. A fine place for it.
Mystery crate.
Mike Ryan, locally, we have a couple of things that you are an insider on whether it is Lionel Messi and what's going on with the possibility of him ending up here, as a lot of people are reporting different things about him. So let's start there because I want to get to some University of Miami stuff as well.
Okay, I've got stuff on both those fronts. Fabrizio Romano once again tweeted last evening, as he has for a month now, that basically Messi to PSG is pretty much done and dusted. All that's missing is a signature, and that may be the case ultimately. And that's a weird thing about the reporting on this stuff. I only really get in the game when I feel like there's misinformation out there, and I like to put it out to clear it up. It's very much a negotiation with Inter Miami. Lionel Messi is very interested in what Inter Miami have to offer. So the notion that he's basically done and dusted, signed off on PSG, then why is he still taking meetings? Why is he still actively engaged in conversations with Inter Miami? You could say, oh, it's just a dog and pony show to drive up the price on PSG. How is Inter Miami driving up the price on PSG? If this were about upfront money, he would have signed it a month ago. It's not about that. Inter Miami have a different opportunity in front of Lionel Messi. If this were all just a charade, then why is he still in active conversations with Inter Miami? He remains interested.
But the reporter reporting this is the most credible, correct?
Yes.
It's not just his biographer, it's a journalist who doesn't usually get it wrong,
right,
correct?
but if I may, I believe his sources to be tied into PSG, and the Qataris never lose these things. So I'm not surprised that there is a supreme confidence coming from PSG. They would have no reason to be unconfident when it comes to these.
They've never
these
lost
th-
anybody.
They
They've
can't be
never lost
leveraged? Is that
anybody.
what you're saying? They cannot be leveraged. Is that what you're saying?
They can, but they don't lose. Like,
Yeah.
Kylian Mbappe was a done deal to Real Madrid for 2 years.
Right.
And then his contract comes up, and all of a sudden he's staying and he's got all the power in the organization, and he's making like 100 million euros a year after tax. Like, they always come up with the most
Right.
money.
Right.
Because
I saw
they
you had
have
fi-
the most money.
I saw you had 5 goals Was that in a game?
Mbappe?
Yeah, in a cup match, albeit against a six.
That has to be the
six
greatest
division.
game in the history of
No,
soccer,
it was a
right?
six
No one's
division.
ever scored 5 before.
No, they have.
Really?
Yeah, they've scored more than that. But look, this is going to boil down to my mentions are going to get dragged if Messi goes to PSG, and that's not what I'm reporting. I don't know where he's going to go. It's a 2-club race right now. There was a very reputable reporter that covers Barcelona that said today Lionel Messi, this was yesterday when he said when he reported it, would not be signing his extension with PSG. So thankfully, another reputable reporter has come to my aid. All I'm telling you is this is a 2-club race right now. Inter Miami feel very confident. Talks are going to resume this week, so they're in it. That's all I'm saying. Inter Miami is negotiating with Messi's camp, and they feel like they have a strong proposal, and the indication from Messi's camp remains that he's interested.
My perspective is that when Messi won the World Cup and performed as well as he did, that increased the idea that he's not ready for his retirement home yet, which Inter Miami is, unless you dispute that. In staying cozy with David Beckham, he's just lining up what may happen in 2 or 3 years. I don't think he's ready to give up top-level soccer right now to go to MLS. I think he will eventually.
That's what I run into, people applying logic. Why not keep playing at the top flight? I'd brush up against the notion that playing in the French league where Kylian Mbappe can rattle off 5 goals in a cup match is the top flight. Playing in Europe in Champions League, you have a free pass basically when you're playing with PSG, but it's not about that. His legacy is set as a footballer. This is about creating a new legacy, opening up a new market potentially, having a pathway to ownership and not just owning a club, but the actual sport here in this country. Miami's offer over time, I think, is the stronger offer, and PSG, though people may snicker at this, they are bound by some financial fair play rules. They can't offer exactly what Inter Miami is offering presently. There could be a wink and a smile, and down the line we'll grease you up. It's a negotiation, but right now, through the laws of each individual sporting government here in the United States and over in Europe with UEFA, Inter Miami have a unique proposal that has allowed them to continue these conversations. And Fabrizio, a lot of his reporting, if you see it, has been based on conversations that happened in advance of the World Cup. There were photographs of Inter Miami contingents around Messi's box at the World Cup final. Inter Miami has continued conversations throughout the last month, and I am telling you, with 100% certainty, they're going to continue talking this week.
Right.
I'm just saying, they're very much alive in this thing.
I think our only disagreement is that I would be shocked if it happened in the next year or two. I think 2 years from now, Messi will be in Miami. He loves Miami.
You're applying logic. From what I understand from Inter Miami, this opportunity, this unique opportunity that is presenting itself to Messi right now is only available right now. You can say that's BS. You could say call their bluff, circle back in 2 years. That's fine. I'm not reporting opinion stuff. I'm just telling you with 100% certainty, Inter Miami and Messi's camp continue to negotiate, and it is a high-level advanced negotiation.
So your understanding is that Inter Miami is giving an ultimatum to Lionel Messi?
I'm not couching it
Now
like
or
that.
never.
I'm not couching it like that. I am just saying there's no ultimatum. It hasn't been framed that way. This deal, as it's constituted with a pathway to ownership and a chunk of the sport here in this country, is only available right now. And if I were to give credence, just knowing what I know, they recently bought out an owner. This is a family that owns this. They have some minority stakeholders, but you can't have that ambiguity around these shares of this club for 2 years. You can't sit around waiting around for Lionel Messi. So I do think that argument that this opportunity only is available right now, I think that argument does hold water.
You're presenting the facts, and you're doing a great job in the reporting on it, and it's fantastic. I guarantee you and Lionel Messi, it's available to him in 2 years as well. I mean, and in 5 years, and in 7 years, and in 10 years.
Look, if the Moss family wants to keep these shares open and not do anything with it in a sport that might stretch them financially, maybe you're right. I don't know enough about that specific detail. I would say, why not call their bluff if I'm Messi? Why not do that? This makes all the sense in the world. Why would you entertain playing Real Salt Lake? Don't you want to play in the Champions League final? I'm just telling you, he is very intrigued by the lifestyle that Miami offers, the pathway to ownership that Miami offers, the legacy he can build in this United States, because he can unlock this market. If he comes over here to MLS, it's the most impactful U.S. soccer transfer of all time.
Easily. He can conquer America.
You
That's his
guys,
next plateau.
Greg Cote and Stugotz are they're applying logic and cynicism, the obvious logic and cynicism, as casual people who aren't reporting anything. They're just looking and saying, it doesn't make sense for him to fall for the bluster of a Cuban Miami gas bag who's trying to make Miami matter right now. But this is a perfectly Miami transaction where it's all, this guy tried to buy the baseball team, didn't have the money. Now he's got a golf course that's being turned into a soccer stadium. He needs to make this work now. It's $1 billion bet. He's going after the biggest. It's a giant swing. And Mike is telling you from the perspective of reporting from here that they're confident. They kind of need it now.
Yeah.
Not 2 years from now.
They need it now. The question is, does Messi need it now?
I will tell you,
or want it now?
It may be irrational confidence coming from Inter Miami. And again, all I'm saying is they feel very much alive in this. And the international reporting is that what they have no. This is he's going.
It's not
to
a matter
PSG.
of if, but when. He's extending his contract.
He's
with
going to
Paris Saint-Germain.
PSG. He's extending it. But you have two entities here. The Qataris, you could argue, have far more reason to feel this way. But the Moss family overcome several blockades. While the stadium has been labeled a tiresome debacle, they feel like that was a massive achievement. We got that thing over the line. We got the team. We got that thing over the line. When the team was about to dissolve and not actually happen, we came and we saved it. So they feel like they don't get many no's. So it's a top level negotiation with two entities that don't hear no very often. And right now, they both feel pretty strongly about that. I'm just bucking against the notion that he is off to PSG. If that's your opinion, fine. You could apply all sorts of logic. I get it.
Well,
I'm just telling you, he is not faking his interest in these conversations.
As a season ticket holder, I am hoping he comes here. I want to say that out in front. But this sounds like he's using Inter Miami to get more money out of PSG.
But if he were doing that, and I hear you, and here's what I'm going to say. If it were about the money, why not use Saudi Arabia as a more serious stalking horse? They were offering him $300 million. It's not necessarily about that. He doesn't need the money. I think what he is contemplating right now is legacy. If this were about the money up front, short term, Inter Miami cannot compete with PSG. Over time, with equity, with percentage points, with rights fees, this could be a bigger bet for Lionel Messi.
His reported current annual salary is $75 million a year.
Man.
Like, PSG have the money. Like, they do not need to be leveraged against. Yeah. And also
Inter Miami will not be paying that to Lionel Messi. They cannot compete
in cash.
In equity.
Yeah.
In equity.
Yeah.
I just think it's perfect for Miami to make the argument, it's not about money. Good, we don't have any. We don't. Moss couldn't afford the baseball team here. A lot of this is constructed on.
Moss made a what is in hindsight a pretty good business decision to not overspend for a baseball team. We spent several local hours saying that Sherman made a bad deal there. What I will say is he's not going to make peanuts here. He's going to be handsomely rewarded via salary. In MLS, you can pay a designated player whatever you want. And it doesn't count against the cap.
But even still, the all-time record salary for an MLS player is currently Lorenzo Insigne of Toronto, making $15 million. So a fifth as much as Messi makes right now. Like, right. MLS has always been about financial responsibility. So then they're not going to go insane.
Which is why they have certain ways around it, which is where the ownership comes in. And over time, that may be the smarter play. It's also about lifestyle and balance. There have been reports that he loves it in Paris. I've heard kind of the opposite. That he loves it in Miami, and his family wants to be in Miami. And his best friend from the Barcelona days, Sergio Busquets, I am reporting, is in all likelihood going to be down here in Miami. So there's a lot of additional things for a guy that doesn't necessarily need the $75 million a year. If it were about money, he'd take the $300 million a year from Saudi Arabia.
And if you go back to when David Beckham initially joined Major League Soccer in 2007, he was given the option to buy a team. That was the major carrot in him coming. At the time, the valuation on that team was $25 million, and now MLS teams are valued for as much as $900 million. That investment, that decision, instead of saying, oh, I'll play for Real Madrid or I'll play for whoever, at that time was handsomely rewarded when he sold a large portion of Inter Miami to the Moss family and made 6, 7, 8x on his initial investment on an option in a contract.
Which was initially a 70% reduction in wages from when he came over from Europe. Yeah. And it ended up being one of the great deals of all time for David Beckham. And that's kind of what Miami is presenting to Lionel Messi right now.
I do think there's this is cynicism on my part, and I admit it. But there's a little fatigue factor here because I feel like Messi to Miami is a conversation we've been having for 3 years now. Okay? We all think, I think it's an eventuality. I think he will be here in a matter of a couple or 3 years, but that it's going to that it could happen now is something that
you're buying high. You're him winning.
He's the best player in the world right now.
Right.
Winning
with all the choices.
Him winning the World Cup gives him all of the options.
Yes.
All of the options. He did not have those. I don't even know if he had those if they'd lost on penalty kicks. If they'd lost on penalty kicks.
Here's a fascinating thing about Messi and having all the options. He didn't really seriously pursue Saudi Arabia. Only 2 teams are in the door right now. Not even his old club Barcelona has made an impact in negotiations. He's kept this very close to the vest, and it's a 2-team race right now. So why? Why is he playing with his food? Brian Windhorst fingers, everybody. If he were off to PSG, why is he entertaining this Inter Miami thing? Is it because he wants to play with his food a little bit and circle back to it in 2 years and think that those shares are going to be there? Fine. I'm not here to tell you that.
He doesn't know Cuban gas bags very well if he thinks that what we're offering you today is even available today, never mind 2 years from now.
If you're listening to this and you know with 100% certainty it'll be there available to him in 2 years, good on you. I'm not going to push back against that. I'm not telling you that. I'm just telling you what the reality is of these negotiations right now.
If we're making bets, though, on whether that offer's there in 2 years, I'm taking yes.
Of course.
Well, you and your dad.
Right.
I mean,
You're not? Dude, we're still going to want Lionel Messi in 2 years.
We're not going to offer you anything, Lionel Messi. We're playing in DRV PNK Stadium, and we have morals here.
Yeah, but what Dan is saying is the money's available right now, and it could be gone in 2 days. And that's Miami.
Well, Dan has labeled the Moss family as not being able to afford the Marlins. So this is an ownership group that before
not
this
labeling them, they couldn't. They were turned down because they didn't have the money.
Yeah, they didn't want to pay that price for the Marlins
while attending the All-Star game and sitting there. Horse. Yeah, well, no, as a manipulative device to make Jeter and A-Rod go crazy and make the price go up because the Cuban gas bag who doesn't have enough money is sitting next to the owner of the team.
So having said that, I'm going to use that very same logic. That's a reason why the shares wouldn't be there in 2 years. They had plenty of conversations with prospective owners beforehand. I think they have to do something with these shares. They have a controlling interest in the franchise right now. They bought that when the former CEO of Sprint left in a very ugly fashion and narked on them to MLS. But they have to do something with this. I've spoken to other people that have had conversations about acquiring those shares of this team. I don't think that they can just sit on them for 2 years. You can call bullshit on that. That's fine.
It's just so wonderful as a swing, though. There's no plan B here. It's just get the best player ever
right now.
And right now, we don't have time. We don't know if we've got a stadium. We just got the land. We don't totally know. Never mind the money. We don't know if Miami will be here in 2 years.
I think that's fair. Every time I talk to my sources, I feel like there's an absence of a plan B. So the plan right now is
never has a plan B, Mike.
Get the best player in the world right now and beat the Qataris.
Okay. So Cuban gas bag, just give me all of it. What's plan B? I know.
But if they do it, though.
See you, Gary.